The theoretical architecture of Louis Boullees and his contemporaries in the early modernist era was of massive proportion and scale, too massive to be built in fact. These strange and mystic-looking structures had more meaning than any normal building. One piece in particular can be viewed as important and significant as the Great Pyramids themselves in my view. The Cenotaph, a tribute to the famous physicist and astronomer Isaac Newton. This Goliath would stand 450 feet tall, and would serve as a functioning planetarium as light would flood through the precisely placed holes all around the globe, mimicking the position of the stars. But first, we need to start from the beginning. Isaac Newton. It is important to understand the background of this English alchemist, mathematician, and natural philosopher in order to truly appreciate the significance of Boulle's design. Newton's theories laid out the groundwork of modern physics and astronomy by describing universal gravitation and the three laws of motion. Newton showed that the motions of objects on Earth and of celestial bodies such as the stars and planets are all governed by the same set of natural laws. He strived to show the relation between functions here on Earth and planetary motions using his theory of gravitation. He was searching for symmetry and geometric harmony in the universe. That's what makes Boullees Cenotaph such an amazing piece. Even though it was never built or may never even be able to be built, the Cenotaph was an earthly representation of our own solar system as it was known then. While it was certainly one of the largest astronomically based structures ever conceived, it was hardly the first. Even modern structures of a much smaller size, like the Every Cathedral seen here, incorporate this concept of circular patterns and orbits. Even in my own backyard, there seems to be an example of this. All of the buildings in my complex are positioned in a circular pattern, all focused around a central pond, and at the very center of that, a fountain. I may be reading way too much into the intent of the architect in this case, but I find it is easy to imagine that the fountain, as a source of life, can and does represent the sun in this micro-solar system called Laguna Vista Apartments. Who knows, maybe I'm onto something here. All over the world, this kind of construction is visible, even at the Vatican. But Boullees nor Newton were the creators of this kind of symmetrical and astrologically significant construction. Ancient people had a much clearer view of the night sky than we do and were very observant of the motion of the planets and constellations of stars. Many cultures built structures and even entire cities that aligned with certain patterns they saw in the night sky. From the earliest texts to modern spacefaring vessels, the use of these circular designs can be seen. Even early religious accounts in major books like the Bible have origins in astronomical shapes, and were interpreted as the work of the gods. Even today, we can see how tied the ancient people of Nazca were to the stars in the sky, and they used what they saw to create large representations that were intended to stand the test of time and leave something behind for future generations, to hopefully transmit knowledge through the decades.
Various disputed explanations suggest that the lines could have been used for irrigation ditches, giant astronomical calendars, or pathways, perhaps used for religious worship.
The Mayans had such an advanced calendar and mathematical system. Why were they so obsessed with the stars?
Here, at the ancient city of Teotihuacan in Mexico, evidence suggests that ancient cultures possessed an incredibly accurate knowledge of our neighboring planets. Some scholars have even interpreted the number and orientation of its pyramids to perfectly reflect a model of our own solar system.
Along the Avenida de los Muertos, the Avenue of the Dead, the pyramids there align in perfect distance of each of the orbits of our planets in our solar system.
Perhaps significant is the fact that the large pyramid of the Sun is positioned at the center of the other structures, reflecting the fact that the Sun is at the center of our solar system and that the planets revolve around it.
It was a known fact back then already that the Sun was at the center of our solar system, which Western science didn't find out until much, much later.
Is how perfectly the layout of Tikal's pyramids correlate to the star map of the Pleiades-Orion region of the sky. An overhead view of the structures almost exactly mirrors the alignment of the constellation. This same outline has been spotted in an area far from Tikal.
There are pyramids on remote Pacific islands, and in India, and in Mexico. So this is something that's all over the world. Archaeologists haven't really been able to explain why dissimilar cultures, separated by huge oceans, are building the same structures and in many ways the same way.
Here in central Mexico stands an ancient city that dates back more than 2,000 years. Its name, Teotihuacan, literally means city of the gods. And located at its center is the Pyramid of the Sun.
At Teotihuacan, here you have a giant pyramid of the sun and a giant pyramid of the moon.
Either the pharaohs had incredible egos and they wanted to outdo themselves, right? So they built these huge museums for themselves. Or it's also possible that these ancients wanted to leave behind something for us.
Boullees, a Frenchman, born in 1728, designed the Newton tribute, which even features a representation of the orbits of the planets around the main dome, or sun, using the greenery of trees and bushes. So, just as the Egyptians, Mayans, and Aztecs tried to build structures that married nature and geometry and astronomy, so did Louis Boullees and his counterparts. Don't believe me? Just take a look at this piece by Boullees' fellow architect Claude Nicolas Ledoux. This design for a house for a river surveyor literally marries nature and geometry by having a river actually running through its center. This tradition carries on today in such designs as sky farm buildings, which try to solve pollution and overpopulation problems by building a fully self-contained and sustained structure. Stay tuned on that one. I think there is already one up and running in Tokyo, but I'm not sure. The cenotaph for Newton was just one of several massive epic designs, including the French National Library, seen here, or yet another cenotaph, this one a cone atop a pair of concentric circular platforms. Also, this was only supposed to be a centerpiece of a much larger blueprint. For my money, the Isaac Newton tribute is just amazing. Having said that, it is also just another piece in a long line of construction and architecture that has tried to understand the universe around us. These orbital patterns demonstrated in this design are simply a part of what makes up our world and ourselves. We have seen this kind of pattern all the way from the microscopic atom to the full pictures of a spiraling galaxy. So, in my mind, Etienne Louis Boulle's designs are extremely historically significant. They displayed an understanding of the universe that many people even today have a hard time grasping. And the more you study his architecture, the more you get the feeling he was trying to leave something behind that would weather day, night, sunshine, and rain, and stand the test of time, and keep us always building towards something.